Welcome back for video 3 of this weight class prediction series. So with the little boy weight classes out the way, it's time to have a good crack at men's featherweight. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I fucking hate this division. And this made it a really hard one for me to keep myself neutral and controlled on this one. And honestly, I considered just scrapping the whole thing. So ultimately, I've decided to do the opposite, and not to bother with filtering, just to embrace my inner asshole on this one, and probably piss quite a few people off and bore the rest. I'm expecting some hurtful backlash on this one.
I can take it.
Now, the main issue starting off with this division revolves around the current featherweight champion, Alexander Volkanovski, who has single-handedly smashed his way through the division, both kind of directly and indirectly, leaving a real problem, especially for the UFC, because there's no real standout contenders to generate true interest in a fight against him. For now, anyway. He's either beaten the shit out of everyone good, or the guys he's beaten up have beaten up pretty much everyone else, with a few notable exceptions. So, as the clear pound for pound number one, the champ has earned the right to jump up a division and take on Khabib protege and resident weight bully Islam Makhachev, which I'll cover more comprehensively when I take a look at men's flyweight in video 4. Given that he's already cleared out the division and the circumstances surrounding this fight, I've predicted that we will see not one, not two, not three, but fucking 0 featherweight championship fights this year. Instead, I think we'll see 2 interim fights, which will result in a new undisputed champion by default. God, this division is... Anyway, stick with me, boys. I'm going to get real fantastical with this shit sandwich. Now, firstly, assuming we have no injuries, the first of these will be contested by what I consider to be 2 of the most undeserving Muppets on the roster, Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett. Now, Emmett clearly lost his title eliminator, if you can call it that, 4 rounds to 1, in what my view was a horrendous robbery. This was in his last bout against Calvin Kattar. So, despite being on a decent win streak before that, he should not be in this position to get a shot at the belt at all. Now, you might be wondering, that's not really a big deal. It's not his fault the judges suck. Where's the beef really at? And all I can say is, well, yes, I did lose money on this one. But, come on, a robbery is a robbery. Honestly, I think what annoys me slightly more, though, is that despite having cracking one-punch KO power, he's just really fucking old for this division. I mean, he's my age, for Christ's sake. And he's just not that good. Volk would literally kill him. So, what's the point in even doing this? Now, I do admit I'm being a little harsh on Emmett, especially on account of losing a little money on the little prick. But when you consider what transpired for his opponent to get the title shot, it's not really that bad. Okay, so while Yair Rodriguez, his upcoming opponent for this bout, arguably caused the injury to Brian Ortega that ended his last bout, firstly, I think a freak injury to your opponent is such a bland and unfulfilling way to win a fight for yourself, for your opponent, obviously, and for the fans. So you do the honorable thing, you know, you run that shit back or you make another fight. You do not get a title shot from that silly shit. Now, obviously, that's not really his fault. And firstly, I don't care. But more reasonably, I think it was his repeated no-shows with USADA. Now, that's the UFC's internal doping agency, for those that are unfamiliar with the acronym, that led up to that bout that really, really boils my piss about this weasel. Like, as talented as he is. It would be like walking, like, I'd equate it to like walking into a store with empty pockets. Security catches you trying to slip out the back door with your pockets like mysteriously bulging, and you cheekily ask them, "Oh, can I quickly pop home?" And they let you, and you then return with empty pockets saying, "Oh, look, they're empty." It's just ridiculous. Anyway, I believe that Yair will be crowned interim champion. For those of you who are unaware, this basically means a plastic caretaker non-champion. By essentially being less shit than Emmett. God, you can really feel the salt in this one. Anyway, he'll set himself up for being undisputed champion potentially by the middle to end of 2023. The issue with this obviously being that there'll be a feeling of, oh, there's an unworthy placeholder, and it's going to leave a bitter taste in everyone's mouth, and basically the division just covered in absolute shit. Now, maybe this might be a result of far-reaching, wishful thinking, and, you know, my mind's way of trying to fix a division I truly wouldn't mind seeing flushed down the toilet for now. But I believe that what goes on lower on down in the division is what's going to get this division back on track. So firstly, I believe that a title eliminator between Arnold Allen and Max Holloway will be the first bout that sees this really rubbish situation just kind of slowly start to sort itself out. Now, just to clarify here, I am one of the biggest Holloway fanboys out there. The dude is chill as fuck and did one, no, I'm going to say two of the most savage things that I've ever seen in a fight. Let's have a quick look at the first one.
For every one that Ortega lands, Max.
Now, for those of you that can't really see what's going on there, that was Max Holloway teaching his opponent how to block punches mid-fight just after beating the absolute fuck out of him for 20 minutes. It's bonkers. Now, if that doesn't convince you, then check this disrespectful shit out.
I would really think about stopping this if I heard, and the coaches. He pointed at your DC. He's even listening to the commentary team.
The best box in UFC, baby. Right hand. Max Holloway there.
Oh my
He
God.
landed a no-look right hand.
Max Holloway just looked at the commentary team and said, "I'm the best boxer in the UFC." Oh, slipping punches.
All right. So anyway, despite Max losing some really close decisions against Volk in the first two fights, which is a heroic thing to do by itself, it was that third fight where he really got a taste of his own medicine and where you could literally see his soul leaving his body. He got totally outclassed. And he just looked like really mentally defeated and exhausted for the first time in his career. Now, this won't be a popular opinion, and I genuinely love Max Holloway, but I've seen this look before, and Arnold Allen is just looking like a straight assassin right now. So, as much as I regret to say this, I think that this fight will end with one of the most iron chins in UFC history getting smashed to dust. And I think what will be one of the biggest shocks of the year, putting Allen in an ideal place for a title shot, which he arguably already should have, especially over those two tosses I mentioned earlier anyway. Now, making up the other side will involve my new favorite personality and shit talker, Ilya Tapuria. If you are not on the Ilya bandwagon for his insane skill set in the octagon alone, have a quick gander at this cheeky tweet that he sent to Paddy the Prick back in early December. Now, maybe it's because I'm a bit of a cunt, but there is something objectively funny to me about a guy that publicly acknowledges a private apology, tells the guy he doesn't like him, and to mind his manners in future. To me, that's just cold shit. Now, if you don't know anything about this back and forth beef between Tapuria and Paddy the Baddy, look it up. It's ridiculous, but really entertaining. And it, for me, represented the first definitive L that Paddy got this year that ended up kind of in a downward spiral for him. Anyway, as much as it would be fun to see a fight between those two, a more relevant matchup should see Ilya smartly matched up with another absolute monster in the division by the name of Movsar Evloev. Now, this is another undefeated prospect with notable wins against, I think his last two he had, I can't remember which order it was in, but I believe they were against Dan Ige and Hakeem Dawodu, who are both very decent fighters in the division. Now, Ilya and Evloev are both extremely well-rounded, but I think Tapuria's significant advantage standing and trading will see him emerge from this fight where someone's always got to go. Like, both these men are undefeated, and it creates a really interesting problem for the UFC brass to solve by the end of the year. Okay, so if you've stuck with me for now, well done. I really appreciate it. But I probably deserve to get abandoned at this point because it's going to get a little bit ridiculous and very hopeful. I believe that for some reason or another, Yair is going to get ejected from contention. Now, it might be for getting popped or missing a test or demanding pay-per-view points that he doesn't deserve, or for generally being difficult to deal with. You can take your pick. Now, if you're a fan of the sport, this might seem like a big leap, but honestly, it's not, given his history of being a whiny, difficult bitch to deal with. I think that basically what he does is he ends up pissing off the UFC brass, which, to be honest, is not that hard to do, scoring a really nice 10-8 on himself. So for reasons I won't entirely spoil, well, for now anyway, Volk will not be defending his belt, resulting in a matchup, and I really hope this comes to fruition, between Ilya Tapuria and Arnold Almighty Allen. And this will be to contend for either another interim or potentially a relinquished title towards the back end of 2023. Now, to kick things off, coming up towards the end of this video, Allen is really an excellent fighter. He's shown he can stand in the pocket and trade. He's got great takedown defense. His wrestling's on point, and he's got a very acceptable submission threat. He's only got one loss in his career that came ages ago and wasn't even in the UFC. And I believe if he beats Holloway, he'll be coming off what I think will be 2 wins against the top 5. And will rightly be in a position to fight for gold. Now, unfortunately with Allen, he does have a history of having really brittle hands that seem to break early in his fights when he gets into a trading war. And that's very, very likely to happen with Tapuria. On top of the fact, I think Ilya is just that little bit more skilled in every area. So Ultimately, I predict a brief but fun as fuck all-out war, which will leave Tapuria standing at the top of the division by the end of the year. Now, having said that, I'd be really happy if either man could end the year at the top, because they're both on really hot long streaks. They're both really exciting to watch. You know, they go in for a scrap. They don't fuck about. And they both feel like really worthy champions. In Volkanovski's absence, I can say that much. Whereas the other two would just be a disaster. Anyway, thanks for sticking this one out. Coming soon will be video 4. And I'll have a look at I'll have a look at one of the most historically beloved divisions in combat sports, which is men's lightweight. Before I sign off, there is a fight card coming up on the 15th, but I haven't had a chance to see the entire fight card yet. I still think things are being worked on. So as soon as that drops, I'll produce like a fight breakdown video just for anyone who's listening that might be interested in placing some bets on the fights. I had a pretty good year last year, in terms of placing bets, and it worked out pretty well. So for those of you who are interested in that, I will drop a video in between finishing off this series in the meantime. Anyway, have a good one.